How vulnerable is the U.S. to disruption by BlackRock? Well, all BlackRock has to do is shift some capital. All they have to do is adjust some ESG compliance ratings or pull out of a market segment, and entire sectors of the economy could collapse. So that's a 6.5 score. It means that America doesn't govern its corporate elite. Its corporate elite governs America.
Hi guys, Sandy Ingram here. Welcome to the channel. In this video, we are going to discuss BlackRock. Part 1. Who the hell is BlackRock? You want to know. Part 2. BlackRock's affiliation with BRICS countries. This is really crucial. Part 3. Why BlackRock could or will help Iraq to readjust the IQD currency. Now that's what this video is all about. Just as a note, this is a long video, so even if you have to stop it and come back to it, do so. You want to understand the international financial connections and how Iraq fits into the picture. Now, highly intelligent people in Washington, D.C., and even here on YouTube are discussing this subject. Why? Because BlackRock is worth $11 trillion. I mean, did you hear me? $11 trillion. Let's get into it.
BlackRock, the world's largest asset management firm, has grown so powerful and influential that some critics argue it poses a potential threat to the United States government, not in the traditional sense of military or political opposition, but through its immense control over global financial markets and policy influence. Managing more than $10 trillion in assets, BlackRock holds significant stakes in nearly every major American corporation, including tech giants such as Apple and Microsoft, as well as major banks and defense contractors. This gives BlackRock a behind-the-scenes influence over corporate decision-making, shareholder voting, and market direction. Furthermore, its proprietary risk analysis software, Aladdin, is used by central banks and financial institutions around the world, including the Federal Reserve, which raises concerns about systemic risk and conflict of interest. During financial crises, BlackRock has been repeatedly hired by the United States Treasury and Federal Reserve to manage bailout programs, creating a blurred line between public oversight and private interest. Critics warn that this level of entanglement gives BlackRock the ability to indirectly steer United States economic policy while remaining largely unregulated like a bank. As such, the fear isn't that BlackRock is overtly hostile to the United States government, but that its size, opacity, and deep connections across both Wall Street and Washington may allow it to wield undue influence over democratic institutions and economic decisions without proper accountability. Okay, so we now understand the power of BlackRock. Now let's discuss the question, is BlackRock hand-in-hand with BRICS? BlackRock is not officially partnering with the BRICS alliance, but it is financially aligning itself with many of the same trends and goals. Let me repeat that. BlackRock is not officially partnering with the BRICS alliance, but it is financially aligning itself with many of the same trends and goals. While BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa and their members are working to reduce their reliance on the US dollar and build independent financial systems, BlackRock has started investing heavily in those same markets. For example, it offers funds that focus on major BRICS countries such as Brazil, India, and China. One such fund is the iShares BRIC 50 ETF, which tracks top-performing companies in those nations. BlackRock has also launched infrastructure investment funds tied to projects supported by the BRICS-led New Development Bank. At the same time, BlackRock has issued public warnings about the risks facing the US dollar, encouraging investors to diversify into bonds and stable assets. This mirrors the BRICS nations' push to move away from the dollar in global trade. BlackRock is even exploring digital assets, such as tokenized United States Treasury-backed coins, which could serve as a hedge against dollar instability, an idea also championed by BRICS countries as they explore alternatives like a BRICS currency. In simple terms, BlackRock is aware of the global financial winds and is adjusting its investments accordingly. It is not politically aligned with BRICS, but it is financially positioning itself to benefit from the bloc's growing economic influence. This makes BlackRock a key player in the shift toward a more multipolar global economy, even if it remains rooted in Western financial systems. Now that we understand BlackRock's alignments, we can ask the question, what would happen if BlackRock supported or encouraged Iraq to adjust its currency? But first, why would this even be a valid question? The question of whether BlackRock might support a revaluation of the Iraqi dinar is valid due to the firm's immense influence in global finance, its growing interest in emerging markets, and Iraq's strategic position in the global energy and infrastructure sectors. While BlackRock is not a government or central bank, it manages over $10 trillion in assets and often works closely with central banks, sovereign wealth funds, and major institutional investors. Its opinions and investment choices can shape market narratives and influence policy discussions, especially in developing economies looking to attract foreign capital. Iraq is of particular interest because it sits on one of the world's largest oil reserves, and is in the early stages of rebuilding its economy, banking system, and infrastructure after decades of conflict. A currency revaluation would signal increased economic stability and could open Iraq to more international investment. BlackRock, which invests in infrastructure, energy, and sovereign debt, might view such a revaluation as a step toward making Iraq more attractive for long-term investment, especially if paired with reforms and greater transparency. Furthermore, BlackRock has publicly shifted more of its strategy toward emerging markets and has warned about the risks of United States dollar overdependence. If Iraq, backed by reforms and reserves, aimed to strengthen its currency as part of broader modernization efforts, BlackRock's support, whether direct or implied, would lend credibility and possibly encourage other large institutional investors to follow. So, while BlackRock cannot directly change the value of the Iraqi dinar, its support for such a move could legitimize the idea on the global stage. That's why the question is not just valid, it's strategic. If BlackRock were to publicly support or encourage Iraq to revalue its currency, the Iraqi dinar, it could have some pretty significant ripple effects, both economically and politically. While BlackRock itself doesn't have any formal authority over a sovereign nation's currency policy, its global influence as the world's largest asset manager means that, honestly, such a statement would carry enormous weight in financial markets. First, markets would likely interpret BlackRock's position as a signal that Iraq's economy is stabilizing, or that major investors expect future growth. This could spark a surge in demand for the dinar, especially among speculative investors who are hoping to profit from a revaluation. News outlets, currency forums, and retail investment groups would, amplify the message, potentially causing a wave of buying pressure even before any policy changes made in Iraq. Second, Iraq's government and central bank would be placed under intense scrutiny. A revaluation decision involves, complex factors like foreign currency reserves, inflation control, oil revenue, and IMF guidelines. If BlackRock's influence sways public or institutional sentiment too strongly, it might pressure Iraqi policymakers to respond, even if they aren't ready. In short, if BlackRock backed a dinar revaluation, it wouldn't directly cause it, but it would likely accelerate the conversation, impact global investor sentiment, and put political and economic pressure on Baghdad to act in some way. But remember, there are risks in pushing Iraq to revalue its currency before they are ready. The channel recommends that you join the channel's membership and learn about low-cost investments with high returns that you can implement while we wait for Iraq to revalue its currency.